Do you ever wonder why certain movies are simply a disaster? Are they truly garbage? Or perhaps they are misunderstood?
Welcome to the main course of cinematic catastrophe that is Le Crap, with your gourmet, Chef Bri and Chef Gio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Le Crap, and it's our first episode of 2026. So, new year, new crap, and I just want to say, before we really get into this, Gio, we had an interesting thing happen a couple, what was it, like a week ago or so?
Yeah, about a week ago at the what was it, the inauguration or what?
Yes, it was the
Just swearing in.
inauguration.
See, this show just follows us everywhere. So at Zoran Mondani's swearing in, he played a Lizzie McGuire song.
Not just a Lizzie McGuire song, the song. What dreams are made of, like the hardest, like Millennium Core shit you could possibly think of. Like, yeah, you could tell that this campaign and this ceremony was organized by a bunch of people in their early to mid 30s.
Oh, yeah. It's like it's just gonna follow us forever, like a shadowy goblin just forever reminding us of its presence.
Oh, speaking of shadowy goblins, that's actually kind of similar to what we're going to talk about tonight, which we're kind of, I'm calling this a dish because it's a full length, but you could consider it an appetizer too, but this has been something, Gio, that you've been really wanting to get into for a while, because this is kind of like, I feel like your origin story to crap.
Oh, yes. So, there's going to be a lot of context to this one. So, when I was a kid, I was a supreme animal nerd. I spent pretty much all the time that I wasn't watching either SpongeBob or the Golden Girls, I was watching either the Discovery Channel or Animal Planet, which just from that one sentence alone, you could kind of see how I wound up like this. And what might shock some of you listening to this is that once upon a time, the Discovery family of networks was actually primarily educational.
I know, it's so weird. Because I remember, and there's also something called Discovery Kids before it became the hub, and then it kind of became Discovery Kids again. And this is even crazier. This is going to totally blow your socks off. TLC used to be known as the Learning Channel. Mind blown.
Mind blown. And this will shock you even more. The Travel Channel was actually about traveling and not ghosts. Now, you might be wondering to yourselves, how in the world did it all end up like this? How did they transition from educational content to whatever the hell it's turned into now? The subject of today's episode is what happened. The 2012 quote-unquote documentary Mermaids, The Body Found. Now, this is also a prime example of docufiction as well as a pseudo-documentary where its fictional science is presented in a way that makes it sound legit. Like an actual educational program. You know what Animal Planet was more known for back in that day, instead of reruns of Finding Bigfoot.
Is that really what they're running now? Like, the only Animal Planet thing I've watched the last couple weeks are like the Irwin's, show. Because that's actually about animals.
Well, yes, we still have stuff like the Irwins and the occasional educational program, but Animal Planet will also delve occasionally into the supernatural stuff. Not as much as Discovery, History Channel, or especially the Travel Channel, but they've had their brushes with it over the years. And really, most of it started with this. Now, this kind of a program can be very dangerous if you don't have a bunch of disclaimers beforehand saying, hey, it's fake, which apparently when this thing was first broadcast, it only had like one brief, easily missable disclaimer at the very beginning. So if you had tuned in like a minute later, you could go into this thing thinking it's real, which, fun fact, I totally did.
I'm so sorry, dude.
Oh my God. They marketed the ever-loving hell out of this thing back when it was first airing. And back then, I was a stupid and impressionable teenager. I watched copious amounts of A Haunting on Discovery Channel, which may have also been like one of the patient zeros of the whole epidemic that would come later. And I was like, oh my god, is this actually real? Or do mermaids actually exist? Do they have proof? They marketed this thing so much. And I went into it completely believing that this was going to blow everybody's mind. And then I saw the crappy CGI.
Oh. Hey, I remember, like, other than Walking with Dinosaurs, which to me doesn't really even count because that was technically, like, a production of the BBC that Discovery Channel, like, aired over here. Ironically, while teasers and advertisements for Disney's Dinosaur, which got unfavorably compared to it, aired at the same time, which on my bootleg VHS, which I'm sure I have somewhere, I just found kind of funny. But you would think the way that they kind of marketed it, they're thinking like, because I remember there was a similar special about like dragons. They based that more on like fossil evidence and like kind of like actual science, and they kind of gave theoreticals of like if dragons were real, like this is how they would live in nature. So they kind of did more of a like Walking with Dinosaurs kind of angle with it versus whatever this is.
Yeah, the difference there is that they presented it as that, a theory. This presents it all as if this is a giant, mind-blowing fact that they're uncovering. It's like you look at this and you would think, oh yeah, they gotta be like bullshitting. They gotta be just leaning into the ridiculousness of it. But they really don't. The tone is very serious. The kind of tone that would make you think, okay, yeah, this is a serious documentary, which it isn't. And all these supposed experts that they present, actors, every single one of them. Now, as you can imagine, the scientific community and regular viewers of Animal Planet who would watch it for its educational content were none too pleased with this kind of a program airing on their networks. This thing, Animal Planet was bombarded with criticism for this, mainly for how it was presented as an actual documentary and did not have that many disclaimers. If you watch any show on any of the Discovery networks nowadays that's pseudoscience presented as fact, they will come with heavy amounts of disclaimers. Like, they'll have a disclaimer after every commercial break, which I would imagine was probably due to the backlash to this thing.
Yeah, I'd assume.
And the backlash was so major that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which some quote-unquote experts in this quote-unquote documentary supposedly worked for, yeah, the real organization actually had to come out and say, yeah, there's none of this is true. None of it.
Oh my god. So I feel like we need to talk about who were the madmen or people behind this thing.
I wasn't able to find too much info on like the creative process behind it. I saw that the director made like a few other movies, including like this weird CGI dinosaur one. But like other than that, it's a whole lot of mystery behind it.
Ooh.
But you know what sensationalism and crazy marketing will usually get you? Eyeballs. Owing to the controversy and just the whole weird nature of the thing, the initial broadcast of this documentary, quote unquote, brought in a viewership of 1.9 million people, which at that point was the network's most viewed broadcast since 2006 with the Steve Irwin Memorial. And when I first read that, I was like, oh, don't tell me this had more viewership than that. But considering the fact that the Steve Irwin Memorial brought in 300 million people watching, that's no.
Yeah, no. Thank God. I mean, when you mean 300 million, I think we mean collectively from all the broadcasting stations, because I remember they broadcasted that worldwide.
Yes, correct. God, I miss Steve Irwin. That was just to go off for a second. That I consider his death like the end of my childhood because that man was my hero growing up. And like hearing that he died was like that was like the first like major like celebrity death that actually like really affected me. That was a painful one.
Yeah, I mean, because it just came out of nowhere. Because you figure, like, oh, people joke, crocodile's gonna get him. But the fact that, you don't generally think of stingrays as like very territorial animals, and the way that it happened was just like such a freak accident. It just and like honestly, the death of Steve Irwin to me was kind of also the nexus point of like Animal Planet specifically's decline into like what it is today. Because however way you put it, Steve Irwin was Animal Planet. Like, he put that channel on the map. Like, yes, they had, like, other programs, but everyone came for the Crocodile Hunter.
Yeah, that man was the face of that channel, and with him gone, it's like there wasn't really that much to fill that void. I mean, yes, we have the Irwins; they have their own program now, but it's like when their dad died, they were still just little kids.
Yeah, I mean, Bindi had, like, her little show, but you weren't gonna put, like, an 8-year-old responsible for an entire cable network.
No, absolutely not. But to get back on the topic of this documentary, so with how successful the broadcast was between this and another pseudo doc that would come out on Discovery Channel a year later called Megalodon the Monster Shark Lives, this really felt like the tipping point where Discovery saw, hey, people like this sensationalist, like pseudo documentary, paranormal cryptozoology stuff. Let's do more of that. And do more of that they did. Oh dear Lord, did they. Like, there was a period of time where you could not turn on something like the History Channel or the Travel Channel without seeing something focused on like the paranormal of ghosts and cryptids. It was constant. And in a lot of ways, it still is that way to this day. Like, they went from doing like these actual, like, educational, well thought out documentaries to just rednecks running around in the woods chasing after everything that makes a noise.
Ugh. And also, I feel like there's an important note. So, there's another friend of the show who was probably responsible for this. Ironically, the same year that Steve Irwin died, a certain CEO came into power.
Yep. And let's start 2026 with saying a big old hearty
Fuck
you,
you,
David
David
Zaslav.
Zaslav.
Yep. Just like with 99% else that's wrong with media today, you could point the finger at this wormy little bastard. So, we've talked a lot about the backstory of this. What is this documentary actually about? Well, it's trying to tell you that mermaids are real and presents a very controversial hypothesis as proof. So, what this quote unquote doc presents is what is known as the aquatic ape hypothesis. It is a theory that the ancestors of modern humans diverged from the other great apes to adapt to a more aquatic environment. Basically, that there is this missing piece of human evolution where we were more suited to an aquatic lifestyle, which has been largely debunked as pseudoscience by the scientific community, who cite the fossil record is not aligning with that at all, that these specialized traits that the hypothesis peddles can actually be seen in other great apes and also all evolved at much different time periods. It's baloney, is what I'm trying to get at. Now, there is one other like hilarious little piece to this, and that is the fake website that they made for this.
Oh, God. I hope it's on archive.org. I really hope it is.
So, alongside the documentary, a website went live called believeInMermaids.com, whose only visible content was a disclaimer that the US government had seized the domain. As you can imagine, just like with everything else about this, it was a complete fabrication. Just do a little digging into the website's code and you'll see that the original owners were Animal Planet's parent company. This was never a real website, it was just another piece of cheeky marketing. So, I realize that's a lot to digest.
You know, oddly enough, I followed that through.
And believe you me, this is not going to be the last time that we're discussing a piece of Discovery Channel content post 2008. Trust me, I got a couple more. I got a couple more in mind.
Oh,
Don't you worry.
Oh, you know what another one we should do at some point is that really terrible Walking with Dinosaurs remake where George Lopez is one of the dinosaurs and they make like a poop joke.
Oh God, I vaguely remember that. Ugh.
All right, so let's shiver down to these depths, I guess. So we're gonna watch this documentary, and then we'll come back and give you our thoughts after we do trailer nonsense.
I was never a believer in conspiracy theories. But what we were looking at was a mermaid.
Mermaids, The Body Found. World premiere Sunday, May 27th at 9. Only on Animal Planet.
Bullshit!
Bullshit! Bullshit!
Oh, you know, I said before we got into this, I have a feeling this is going to be another Scooby. Well, that ended up being quite accurate. I don't think it was as many pauses as Return on Zombie Island, but I think we paused like 8 times.
To call this factually inaccurate would be selling it very short. Because, my God.
It's not inaccurate, they're just alternative facts.
Holy shit. This was so much worse than I remember it being. Oh. Putting aside the shoddy early 2010s CGI, which you could kind of expect from like a TV special of the day, this had to have been the biggest load of bullshit I think I've seen in a long time.
Oh no, that bull stank and that shit stank. And we were saying as we were watching this, and I think I said this at the start of when we were recording, I can't help but compare this to Dragons of Fantasy Made Real. Because, at least with Dragons, basically, it's set up from the beginning, even from the title. I know in some territories it's called The Last Dragon, or Dragon's World, but regardless of the title you grew up with, they make it pretty clear from the beginning that this is just a cool, like, what if dragons were real and, like, have an alternate, like, world, like, evolution, like, based on science. It said, well, here's how dragons would work if they were real animals. This is just bullshit.
There are so many ass pulls in this, and so many moments where we just had to stop because, like, you don't think the people behind this know how evolution works?
No, poor Charlie D is just rolling in his grave, asking why.
Like, we were talking about this while we were watching, but if we were to raise him up from his grave and show him this, well, after he had stopped questioning what the weird images on the Sparky box were, he'd probably ask to just be put back.
What is evolution, Gio? Because I don't know. I feel like I'm devolving from watching this.
Oh, clearly the people behind this don't know either.
Oh. You know what would be funny? What if we resurrected Charles Darwin and showed him this? How would he react to all this?
He'd ask to be put back in his grave.
I mean, he'd be like, what is this? Like, he'd be confused. Like, why is this glowing box showing pictures? He's like, what the fuck is this?
He'd be like, oh God, put me back in the box. Put me back in. No, please.
Oh my God, that's what she do with the thumb. We should just have Charles Darwin sticking out of a coffin with like a bunch of hands on the screen.
It had hands.
It had hands, Gio. It had hands.
That's gonna be the new I've always loved dogs, isn't it?
I think so.
Because this shit's all over evolution. And going back a sec to how the Dragons documentary made it clear that this was just like a what if scenario. It wasn't being posited as fact. This thing plays it straight the entire time. And it's not until the end credits
when they legally have to,
where they put the disclaimer that some of this might be fictional. Yeah, they don't even go all the way and say that this was entirely fictional. They just say some of the events might be fictional.
Yeah, they're like, yo, please, feds, don't go after this. We're sorry. Okay, bye. Love you.
Which clearly didn't work because the organization that the supposed experts were a part of actually did have to come out and say, yeah, this is total bull.
Oh my god. You know, this was like so bad. I actually had to get up and get a drink for this movie. It was offered to me, but I still took it. Which, by the way, that spiked hot chocolate, that shit was fucking delicious.
Yeah, it was kind of necessary for today's viewing. Like I said before, I would watch this kind of stuff all throughout my childhood. But long before that, I was watching animal documentaries. I have been into, like, sharks and marine biology since long before I could even remember. And just the ways that this thing gets so much incorrect and is just pulling stuff out of its ass and then presenting it as fact. Because until a good chunk of the way through where we finally start seeing the bad CGI mermaids, like, anyone watching this would see this and not really question it. Because it's played so straight, and it's played like any other documentary with, like, little captions at the bottom saying, this audio recording is real. Or the people they're interviewing, like, when they do the recreations, they're using, like, body doubles. Like, stuff that any other legit documentary would do. That's not what this is. And it doesn't make that clear until, like, the very, very, very end.
Yeah, I mean, we can call bullshit because we were around in the early 2000s. That was way too high quality video to have been on, like, a fucking flip phone. So already, I mean, if you have, like, enough sense, you can kind of figure out that this is all fake or whatever. But the big contention point, like, for me, you know, where they tried to be real, was, like, the autopsy scene. And the thought that kept going through my head was, man, I really miss when I was, like, 13 years old, and my Friday nights consisted of The Soup, where I usually watch clips of, like, Bad Girls Club or whatever, and Dr. G Medical Examiner. But, oh my god, some of the images, I was having, like, intense seasons 1 and 2 of Bones vibes, where they had, like, the really, you know, the Jeffersonian board of, like, facial reconstruction, which, you know, if you know anything about, like, that kind of stuff, is bullshit.
What this thing basically tries to sell us is that, like, 4 million years ago, some ancestors of humans went into the water and basically turned into fucked up dolphins. That's what this thing is trying to tell us.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Like, I don't know how else you would phrase it, but yeah.
I guess we can start from the beginning and go over each logical fallacy as they come.
Oh yeah, because we have kind of a plot here. And by the way, can I say it is one of the most predictable, basic bitch plots out there?
So, let me ask y'all a question. If you were doing a pseudo-documentary talking about mermaids, how would you start it off? If your answer was, mention conspiracy theories about Al-Qaeda and JFK, then congratulations, you're psychotic.
You know, like, when I heard that, all I could think of was, jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams. Fucking Christ.
It's like the guy talking is like, you know, I used to never believe in conspiracy theories. I believed Al-Qaeda did 9/11. I believe that Oswald shot JFK. And it's like, why are we talking about this in the Mermaid show?
I don't know, man. There we go. Whee!
As a scientist, I was never a believer in conspiracy theories.
Oh, this already sounds
I
great.
believe Al-Qaeda was responsible for the 9/11 attacks.
Oh my god!
I believe we landed on the moon. And I believe Oswald shot JFK.
Oh, well, this has already gone to a great start.
Okay.
Oh, the
In
scientists.
1997, scientists from NOAA recorded a sound in the deep Pacific. It's thought to be organic in nature and has never been identified. It's called the bloop.
Even though that's clearly a fucking whale.
In the early 2000s, it was proved that the Navy beached whales while testing sonar weapons. For years, the Navy denied that they were responsible for these beachings. These are facts. And in some of the incidents, there were reports of something else washing up with the whales. In 2004, 2 boys were the first to arrive on a mass whale beaching in Washington State. They captured it on a cell phone.
I call bullshit that that's a cell phone in like 2004. Bull fucking shit.
So, what is happening here is that this team of researchers, supposedly from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, talk about these encounters that they have involving beached whales that are supposedly being stranded and are beaching themselves due to like sonar interference. And like possibly there's an involvement from the Navy. And like they're showing like actual footage of like these beachings. And like that's one of the things that kind of sells the credibility of this, is that they're using like actual like footage of like actual whale beachings, like interspersed with like all the recreations and stuff. So they're like, oh, you know, we noticed these guys in like off to the side and they were working on something and they were wearing hazmat suits. That was unusual. Which, okay, y'all are working with corpses. Y'all are working with corpses, and also whale corpses tend to blow up.
Historically, here's like a fun fact. This is like a fact of life. Don't use dynamite to blow up whales. It ends badly.
So it's like, why would it be unusual for people in hazmat suits to be there?
Like, do people think hazmat suits are just for infectious disease? No, you wear them whenever you're dealing with any biohazardous material. That's why they're called hazmat suits.
Oh, God. So they start talking about like this thing they called the bloop, which is like an audio recording of like all these whales like reacting to like a sonar event. And then they were like, but we listened a bit longer to this and we found something else. And it's this like cacophony of like different noises, which they were like, and you know, it was we thought it was like a dolphin or a whale at first, but this was like so much more complex, which is the marine animal show trying to say that dolphin cetacean communication is simple? That what we're going with?
Yeah, I guess that's what we're going with.
And they keep also interspersing this with all this supposed found footage stuff of like these 2 boys were on a beach where these whale beachings were happening. And like they came across something else, and like they keep going back to it like throughout the whole thing. And they also show like from this like naval like laboratory or whatever, and they show this super grainy footage, this super duper grainy footage of like a tank, and like you could barely even see what's going on in there. And it's only on repeated showings where I was like, oh, they were like showing a hand. That's what was the spooky thing. But like the first time we watched it, we were like, there was nothing there. Like, what are we trying to look at? That there was nothing there.
Oh, God.
And there's 2 sections to this. There's the alleged scientists recounting their story of like the government trying to shut them down about what they found.
The government, the feds are shutting us all down, man. They're trying to silence us.
And it's all interspersed with these supposed flashbacks to like 4 million years ago, 3 million years ago, 2 million years ago,
150 years ago.
Of like the supposed evolution of like the aquatic apes.
Which, by the way, you pointed this out, but can I say something? So, I know we're gonna say bullshit a lot here, but I have to call bullshit that other than like the 4 million years ago flashback, every time we see like these quote unquote mermaids, the character models are exactly the same. Like, there is no, like, biological difference. Like, this isn't like Walking with Dinosaurs where you can clearly see, like, a difference in, like, evolution. Like, the Allosaurus model doesn't look the same as the T-Rex model. And, like, even the different versions of the raptors. This is just, like, the same model that they use for most of the time. And, like, some of the model, like, close up when it's not moving, some of the skin texture looks good. It looks nice. But boy, when that thing moves...
If you had taken away, like, the timestamps, you probably would have assumed it was just the same group of mermaids the entire time. Because, like, we start out like 4 million years ago with like the ancient hominids, and then like I think like 500 after 500,000 years they got webbing on their hands, and you could tell that because they explicitly make sure to have this thing spread its fingers out so you could see the webbing. And then like I think over the course of like another million years they turn into the fish people, and then for like the next like 3 million years they don't change at all, which is not how evolution works. Which we are going to be saying that a lot.
That's not how any of this works. Which, by the way, I call like bullshit. Like, if they have like hairy humans, you would think that they would have at least had like some version of like fuzz or like, you know, more like hair on their head. It's very weird. You know what's also weird? The one mermaid that commits suicide.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to that, because we're gonna be saying that's not how evolution works a lot. So our in the present day, our team of like intrepid researchers, they go to South Africa where another one of these beachings happened. Which, by the way, why would the U.S. Navy be conducting sonar experiments off the coast of South Africa? I mean, correct me if this actually happened, but I don't know, that just seemed odd to me. So our team of intrepid researchers goes to South Africa where they pull like these remains from like a great white shark that they had just gotten. And they discover that it's been stabbed by a stingray barb. Which this was one of the first like big like red flags for me, because they were like, great whites don't hunt stingrays. You know, hammerheads do, but great whites don't. And I smelled bullshit on this because one of the things I am very, 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 very interested in, and I've been since I was in diapers, was sharks. I have so much shark merch that I've gotten over the years. And like one of the earliest memories I have was actually my dad giving me this VHS tape, which I think was like a recording of a documentary on sharks, ironically from the Discovery Channel. So I would say I know a thing or two about sharks. And hey, wouldn't you guess it, as it turns out, no, great whites actually do hunt stingrays. But this is used as like the big key in like, well, this is strange. Why would it have a stingray barb? They don't go after stingrays. Yeah, just chalk that up to another entry onto the bullshit list. And like interspersed with all the pseudoscience gobbledygook that comes out of the supposed researchers' mouths. I couldn't understand half the shit they were saying. Like, it was definitely an example of them using a bunch of like scientific jargon rapidly to try to sound smart. And they were like, oh, these remains were like, we were analyzing them, and like we found that the skull had like this dent in it, and it had a hole. Yeah, these mermaids have blowholes. When I say that these mermaids are basically fucked up dolphins, I mean they have like manatee tail flukes, but like they also have bones in their tails for some reason.
Oh yeah, they treat this as like so damn serious. Like, if you ever watched like those early 2000s like mummy documentaries, they're like, the tibial fracture, blah 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 blah.
And then they're like, yeah, they have blowholes on their heads, and Oh, wait, no. It's not the thing that you're thinking. I want to get into this other, like, load of bullshit. So, they had gotten from South Africa another recording where these unknown creatures seem to have been conversing with dolphins. Yes, somehow, these offshoots of humanity have learned how to talk to dolphins. How, you may ask? Big shrug.
Big shrug. What you know what's incredible is that maybe it's like some animals there's like some sort of thing, but I've never heard of like two separate animal species like able to like vocally converse with each other from like two different species. Like maybe if they're like an adjacent species, like I don't know, if it's like a wolf and like a coyote, I'm sure like there's some similar like dog dialect communications, but this is like, they're talking to each other. Like, this is like some Eliza Thornberry bullshit.
What this thing is trying to tell us is that this offshoot of humanity went into the water, and they basically just turned into dolphins. They got blowholes like dolphins. They got tail flukes like dolphins. They can use echolocation like dolphins, and they are straight up talking to dolphins. How? It's like they keep insisting that their ancestors were primates. Primates are nowhere near closely related to cetaceans. How then would they basically develop all these same identical traits? But hey, do you want to know one trait that they retained from primates?
What would that be?
So, as they're looking at these fucked up remains, they discover that this creature has hands, which they repeat multiple times. It had hands. It had hands.
You know what I'm thinking when I have hands? I'm just thinking of like E.T. touching Elliot saying, they have hands. Which, by the way, the fact that E.T. was voiced by a lady, I think she like worked in like a photography like drugstore line, but she like chain smoked for like 60 years or like some bullshit. So just like imagine that whenever you're crying at the end, which, by the way, I cry like a bitch at the end of E.T. Anyway, I would have rather watched that than this.
This raises so many questions. How is it that, oh, and by the way, they also reveal that this whole thing with like the stingrays and stuff, and like they've also discovered like across the world, like fish and like sharks were stabbed with like these spears and lances, so they evolved to use tools, which they also deposit as like this is only something that intelligent species can use. Like they have to be close to humans. To which I would counter with, there are several species of birds that have evolved to use tools. Like, this isn't a uniquely primate thing. Several mammal species and even bird species across the animal kingdom have evolved to use tools of some sort. This is not just a uniquely primate thing. But oh, this shit about the hands. Oh my god. So you're telling me that over the course of millions of years of evolution, the fish people evolved to have their rear legs have fused into flippers. They have blowholes. They can use echolocation. They are basically dolphins. And yet, for some reason, they still have hands. They still have opposable thumbs. What exactly in the ocean would necessitate this? Do you want to know why primates have opposable thumbs and hands? To climb fucking trees!
Like, if they lived on like a coastal reefs like exclusively, I could be like, okay, I could see why thumbs would be necessary. You could go on the reefs, kind of like grab down, reach like mollusks and stuff, and kind of navigate through small spaces that you can't fit and you can just like grab shit. That I would buy. But why on God's green earth would they have hands?
It just makes no sense. How is it that they managed to evolve everything else to more closely resemble other marine mammals, but they still have thumbs? You would have thought that over millions of years these would have turned into like flippers or something. But nope, they still have hands. Because I guess they just still needed the dead giveaway that these were related to humans. And like we said before, basically after like 1 million years of evolution, they just stopped evolving.
Yeah, because that's clearly how it works. It's not like here, like animals can evolve under like 10,000 years or some shit. But here's the thing with like the thumb, like, because my dog was actually with me while we were watching and partially recording. We'll get more into that in a second because that also hits another of our bullet points. But you know, dogs on their front paws, like they have like, you know, like a dew claw or something. Like you would think if you were basing this on actual science that they would have had, you know, instead of a thumb, like some sort of like maybe like dew claw thing, like some sort of thing that could maybe like, I don't know, for like mating or helping them grip on the stuff. But no, they have hands.
It is such supreme bullshit. And also they were trying to like speculate, you know, like why is it that humanity evolved to have these marine traits? Like why are we so suited to using the water?
Oh yeah, and that's where I brought my dog, who, by the way, for those who don't know, is a Labrador Retriever. You know, the dog that's meant to go on land, that has webbed feet and an otter tail, and a water-resistant coat. Yes, the land-based dog.
The way that they describe this, they make it seem like the only like reason that this would happen was because at some point some branch of humanity lived exclusively off the water. They make it seem like no other kinds of terrestrial mammal would have ever learned to do this. So I guess tigers, for example, don't exist. Or like hippos don't exist. There are several species of like dogs and like weasels and even cats that have evolved to adapt, that have aquatic adaptations. They didn't have offshoots that all turn into fucking fish people.
Or if you want to go to, like, proto-simians like lemurs, like the whole, and I think they have more like concrete evidence of it, how lemurs kind of got isolated in Madagascar as they would go on rafts. Like, they would just go in these little, like, makeshift rafts that either happened, I think it was like, some sort of brush, and they just all floated down. Like, at some point, they had to get in the water.
It's like, it is obvious that if you live near the water, you're going to have adaptations that are suited to an aquatic lifestyle. That's basic. That's just adapting to your environment. It does not mean that you are evolving exclusively to live in the water. And it's like, this is the insane thing. Like, they were also talking about like how these things have these big eyes because they were living in the deep sea. But almost every single time we see them, they're in the open fucking ocean. Like, this one scene of them, of like, oh god, of like the clan that's fighting off the cryptozoology's favorite extinct animal, the megalodon.
Oh, and this is where my scene. Oh, so content warning, guys.
All right, you want to tell the nice people about this one?
As soon as I'm done joking. Well, anyway, this is a very tragic tale. So, guys, this is very, very sad. If you need your tissues, we'll just give you all a moment just to collect yourselves. Okay. Are we all collected? Okay, cool. Great. So, the big, mean megalodon is about to hurt the babies and the other members of the tribe. They keep trying to escape, but shit looks no good. So in order to avoid a mass casualty event, one mermaid makes the ultimate sacrifice. It takes some sort of spear bullshit. You know what? That part, who fucking cares? They stab themselves in the chest, releasing pools of blood to draw it away. And the creature stares at its screen, takes a deep breath, closes its eyes, and accepts its fate. Wow. Avatar: The Way of Water looks like shit. It's like so weird. Like the close-up facial animation for the time in the TV budget actually looks kind of decent along with the texture work. But it's like once they start moving, it's just ugh. Cause see, like this looks decent. Okay, did it just like kill itself or like what the fuck?
Yeah, it cut itself so that the shark would be attracted to the blood, which I guess they just know that now. And it's a lot of blood loss. Don't know how he's not dead yet.
But why would they just not kill the shark? Oh my god, why am I even questioning this?
It really brings a tear to your eye.
I know, like, it makes me depresso. Sing it like, Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso. That makes me depresso. With the suicidal mermaid sacrifice, Jesus Christ. God. 2026 is off to a great start, isn't it?
Absolutely phenomenal. This has been the greatest year I've ever experienced.
All 10 days of it.
Gio, it's been a week. But since we're still on the topic of the flashbacks, we learned that approximately 300,000 years ago, the mermaids and the dolphins were such good buddies that they learned how to hunt together. And you want to know what the mermaids had 300,000 years ago, before modern humanity was even a thing?
I think it was 100,000 years ago, but it's still, like, absurd either way.
They had nets.
that they made with their hands.
Their hands. They were using nets to reel in the fish for the dolphin friends. So, would you mind looking up, like, when nets were first developed by any form of humanity?
Let's Google this shit. When were nets first invented? If I could actually type. Alright, let's see. Alright, so the oldest nets are found from the Mesozoic era, which would be the Middle Stone Age, which would be... so, that would be between 20,000 and 10,000 years ago, would be the Stone Age.
So what you're saying is about 80,000 years after the fucking mermaids figured it out.
Right, which even then, if you... Because I'm looking at the Wikipedia article, like, there's some that could possibly be from the Upper Paleolithic era, which would have still been, like, at the earliest 50,000 to 12,000 years ago.
Yeah, just chalk it up to more bullshit. And back to our tale in the modern era. So the big bad South African government confiscates all their material and they go home empty-handed.
And I like how they act like this is the worst thing that the South African government has done.
Well, I guess this was in the age before Elon Musk, but...
I mean, I was talking about apartheid,
yeah,
but
no, I know that's what you meant, but... That's the current worst thing that the South Africans gave us.
No, during that era, he founded PayPal and was trying to make PayPal X.
Oh, God. Before we go down that road, because that is a fucking infuriating road on its own. So, we haven't even talked about the Navy agent who's, like, being interviewed under condition of anonymity, so he's in shadow. Which, by the way, there was one part, it was, like, after they were talking... There was one part where, like, after they were talking about, like, the dent that the mermaid's skull had, which they don't even consider that this was caused by, like, damage or whatever. Nope. This was clearly, like, an adaptation for, like, echolocation. But, like, after they had done this, they went back to this, like, shadowed Navy guy, and, like, we paused it to, like, rant about something. And the way his head was posed, it made it look like he had a dent in his head.
And then my theory was, maybe he's secretly a mermaid, and it's his job to protect the mermaid society.
And what we were looking at was a mermaid.
Oh, mic drop! Bam! Mermaid!
Took them an hour to actually say it.
That one was in no condition to be transported. I saw what those boys saw. I know what they reported to the Navy was accurate. How do you think people would respond if they knew we were killing an unknown species that was most likely the only surviving relative to humans? Look at how they continue to react to beached whales.
Only survive.
If the public ever
What?
saw a creature...
Okay, you know what? Pause.
No. Are you fucking kidding me? The only surviving relative to human... Surely we had to have known by this point that we shared almost our entire DNA structure with chimps. Surely we had to have known by now that we were closely related to primates. I mean, that's the whole fucking basis of this. And now you're trying to tell me that this was our only close relative. Are you fucking joking with me?
I'm glad I was right that this is a Scooby episode.
It's like anybody with a single functioning brain cell would have stopped at that and thought, wait, that's not right. That can't be right.
Oh, Gio, I think you overestimate the human mind. You know, I'm so glad I have alcohol now, because holy shit. Oh, by the way, I shouldn't be condoning this, but, yeah, just sometimes alcohol works, guys. Holy crap. Be unique. I wish I was unique, so that maybe I wouldn't have to watch terrible documentaries.
You know, from this angle and with this lighting, it looks like this guy has a dent in his head.
You're right.
Like, really look.
No, I see exactly what you're talking about. And I don't think it's just because we're watching, like, a terrible DVR rip. Yeah, wow. Like, I get the whole concealing the identity point so that the feds don't get me or whatever, but yeah, they could have gotten this guy. Wait, what if he is a mermaid?
Yeah. What? Oh my god, the conspiracy. It goes so much deeper.
Yeah, because they found one of his kind, and he's like, "Oh fuck, gotta cover this up because if people know, then oh my god, this changes everything." Anyway, you want to continue the documentary?
I mean, not really, but we're this far into it, might as well.
Okay, all right.
Jesus. So, basically, what they're trying to do is say that the Navy and like all these other governments were trying to cover up like what their sonar experiments were doing, and like try to cover up the existence of like this other species of humans. And then the Navy guy is like, "How do you think people would react to these experiments were killing off the only living relative of humanity?"
Which we both went, excuse me?
Like, we both had to pause and just be like, what? So, like, what is this chimp erasure that we are seeing right now? What the fuck do you mean, the only living relative of humanity? Surely this had to have been made at a point in time where we knew just how closely related we were to chimps and, like, to the other primates. I mean, we share, what, like 99% of our genetic code with chimps?
I think technically a bonobo we share a little bit more DNA of, but like a bonobo and a chimp aren't like that different. But yeah, basically.
Yeah, we both had to just stop right there and be like, what? That you don't even have to be like scientifically knowledgeable to know that doesn't sound right. Anyway, so they go and find the kids that were on the beach, and like they kept showing all the like footage, and they found the mermaid. It was like still alive, and they were like, "Oh, our blood just ran so cold." And like they were showing all these like cave paintings and like showing all these like images from like the Greeks and like the Vikings and like the Chinese of them meeting up with these mer people. And it's like they were talking about like, oh, like the ancient explorers were talking about how they would see mermaids. And it's like, no, they fucking didn't. They got drunk and they saw manatees.
They got drunk and saw manatees and dolphins. And they even showed like an ancient Chinese manuscript where they show a mermaid and then they show like a fucking seal or a manatee right next to it. So like, I think even like ancient bestiaries, they knew like, hey, guys are probably like those like weird like elephant things that we're seeing. I don't know. I guess it kind of looks like a mermaid. I don't know. I've been out here for like 5 months. I'd fuck it.
And it's like they're trying to say, it can't be a coincidence that all these different societies that have never communicated with each other were all seeing the same thing. And it's like, motherfucker, Europeans and Asians both came up with dragons. Both likely based them on the reptiles that they were seeing. It's not that unusual for different societies to see things and then come up with something similar.
It's like the weird thing is I actually talked about like dragons for like this project I'm working on with like a friend. We were talking about the science of it. That a lot of like in like China, a lot of dragon bones were later revealed to be like feathered dinosaurs. Like theoretically, like because they find like mosasaurs and stuff in like the UK, like. They could have saw that and thought it was dragon bones too. Like, they might have actually saw, like, the bones of, like, actual animals and just kind of took a guess.
It's like, it's not that strange for different societies to see things and then come up with, like, similar imagery for them. Like, there's a reason that, like, dragon and snake, like, imagery is so prevalent throughout mythologies across the world. Like, it's not that weird. Like, these societies could have seen, like, manatees or whales or dolphins and thought, maybe it could have been, like, the fish people or whatever. Like, it's not that bizarre.
And also, like, global trade, like, even in ancient times, I'm like, people were going up and down the Mediterranean coast. Like, you're telling me that dolphins were, like, these weird alien creatures? Like, ew, guys, what is that?
Yeah, just more to add to the bullshit list. And if they had just put a disclaimer at the beginning, this could have been a little more excusable. But no, they save it for the end, and they just present all of this as, like, fact. And, like, we don't really see, like, the bad CGI until, like, more than halfway through. So, like, anyone watching this, for a good chunk of it, would think, well, there might be something to this. There is just so much wrong here. Like, the fact that this got the viewership that it did, to the point where it's basically how the network started pivoting to everything. Like, this is dangerous. Like, the way that they just presented everything as so serious, and they did it in a way that was so similar to any other nature documentary you would see, like, complete with using like actors to portray like the recreations and like the closed captioning and the like use of actual like archive footage. Like, everything here would tell you that this was an actual documentary. Like, they're actually trying to like educate you on something, but it's all just bullshit. It's all just one click of the mouse. You could look up the facts and see, yeah, no, this is horse shit. And they posit it all as fact.
Like, I mean, this was like dangerous in like 2012, but like even so more now, which, oh, by the way, fun update. Speaking of our favorite Emerald lad, they're talking about banning X over in like the UK, Canada, and Australia over the AI imagery. So, but this is like the perfect parallel because it's like, wow, maybe we shouldn't be peddling fake, harmful imagery.
Yeah, maybe we should like put disclaimers up that this is all like fake and like not real.
For entertainment purposes.
Because stupid teenagers like me back in 2012 might end up believing it.
And it's even worse now with like all the stuff with AI. I mean, I can spot AI bullshit, but unless you have a very perceptive eye for it, the more data it has, the stronger it gets, to quote like War of the Worlds. Like, it's harder for like the average person to like tell the difference, like to tell signs. Like, we've even seen it with like recent like political events. People were shooting out like AI imagery and people thought it was real.
It's like we were starting to see the signs of this shit back in 2012. And like, you want to talk even before then, like Metal Gear Solid 2 came out in the early 2000s and it was already talking about like artificial intelligence and like fake news and like information control. Like, we were already starting to see this shit. And then something like this comes around that presents itself in a way that you would think it's factual, that it's like actually trying to educate you on like this big conspiracy. And like, we can look at it now and say, yeah, this was obviously bullshit. But back in the day, if you had seen something like this combined with like the fake websites, you would have convinced yourselves that it was real.
Or like the conspiracy is real, like minus the like shoddy CGI. That, you could easily wish away say, oh, this is just a recreation because the government won't let them have the actual footage. Like, unfortunately, like, with the rise of like technology, we have a more like a vulnerable population that can fall prey to like misinformation like this. Even if it is something like this in the guise of entertainment, I mean, shit like this is just dangerous.
Like, at least the Dragon program made it clear that this was just like an alternative history, like fun thing they were doing. This presents itself as factual and doesn't put in any disclaimers to the contrary until the end credits. At least the initial broadcast didn't.
Which is, we watched a real Krusty Krab rip of it with subtitles. I think they were Polish. I'm not sure. But it was funny. There was one moment when they were interviewing like a German fisherman, and the subtitles were covering the subtitles.
Yeah, so we couldn't understand what... I mean, we got the gist of it, like he was talking about like strange like spears and stuff like that. But yeah, it was just funny that the subtitles were covering each other up. Like, that's just a product of the video itself and not like the documentary, but like... I mean, it just kind of fit with everything else.
No, it made the vibes immaculate. But no, the version we watched was on YouTube. It was the original broadcast version, and it said new, so that was the original first airing. Like, there's no reason to believe otherwise. And it was just basically the whole thing with just the commercial breaks edited out.
And it's like, we saw, like, on the bottom it said #Mermaids, and it even had like an advertisement for like 2-hour season finale of River Monsters, which I would much rather be watching that right now because River Monsters kicks ass. I fell for this, no pun intended, hook, line, and sinker when it first came out. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. And this undoubtedly was a huge part of how the Discovery Networks went from primarily educational to this sensationalist, cryptozoology-focused nonsense. I mean, of course they had to include the Megalodon in this, right?
I mean, what quality piece of entertainment doesn't have a megalodon? I mean, some of the greatest pieces of art of all time have a megalodon. I don't know what to call you, but
And I have a feeling that this also really kind of kickstarted like the cryptozoology obsession with the fucking megalodon. And I mentioned that a year after this, the Discovery Channel during Shark Week aired a megalodon documentary that was marketed and portrayed very, very similarly to this. And it ended up being the most successful and most viewed program in Shark Week history. So, just as a preview, when Shark Week rolls around this year, we are going to be covering that one.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to be covering that one.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I'd rather watch that because at least we know, like, a megalodon is real. And I'm sure there's, like, some actual, like, science behind that. Not whatever the hell this is. But apparently, because I was reading up, they made a sequel to this.
Oh, yep.
I don't think we're watching that.
No. Just the one was enough. Ugh. This wasn't just bad because the content was bad. This is dangerously bad. Like, we could just point and laugh at the CGI and, like, how overdramatic it was and how obviously fake it was. This, without disclaimers, this was dangerous. People could easily fall for this, as I can attest.
So, I think in conclusion, we could say, fuck you, David Zaslav, for making this and kind of jump-starting this weird cryptozoology and weird conspiracy, nosophagy, whateverness. This special, like, on itself, just kind of sucked. Like, the writing was bad. It was just the most basic bitch. The government doesn't want you to know shit. I'm like, bitch, if I wanted that, I would watch the X-Files like a proper bisexual. I don't need this low-rank crap.
If we were to add this to the tier list we just did, we would put this in the Long John shitters.
Oh yeah, for 1,000%.
Because this isn't just bad, it's horrifically bad. Like, both from a quality standpoint and from just an information standpoint. And as I alluded to before, we're not done with the Discovery family of networks just yet.
Oh,
we still got that Megalodon documentary, and I alluded to the Travel Channel before and the obsession with ghosts. I have a lot of things to say about that, and I found a gem.
Oh, I am looking forward to that because I don't know. I just have a soft spot for bullshit like that because it's just like so over the top. It's like I remember the
trust me, as
on
someone...
SNL, they say a fart and it's paranormal activity.
Oh, trust me, having watched the program that it's based off of, I know we're in for a treat. But that's for another day.
Right. But if I can make one final point before we go, I feel like my final point is that, and to me, this is like, other than like the conspiracy nuts of thing, here's like the biggest crime of it all. There is like no educational value because at the end of the day, what did I even learn? I just got like a really bad story with characters that, I get it's a documentary, but even a documentary, you should have some sort of like emotional attachment to everything. These are just people. Like, I didn't feel like any connection. I didn't feel anything, to like the animals, because it is possible in a documentary. Like, if you've ever watched any of the Walking with Dinosaurs stuff, specifically the little Walking with Dinosaurs spin-off story, The Ballad of Big Al, it's like a heart-wrenching journey. Like, you go through this dinosaur's whole like life and everything. It feels like so like emotionally detached. And I didn't learn anything about like real animals. Like, you don't learn anything. To me, it's just noise. And to me, that's like the worst part about this.
Exactly. It's like there's nothing at all to gain from this. All that you really hear about is a conspiracy theory that's already been like disputed and disproven by pretty much every scientific body. Like, the aquatic ape theory has already been proven well well, by now. So that's really all you get out of this is a crack theory that's parroted as fact. Like, there's nothing here. It's all just baloney. I don't think I got mad enough at this, if I'm being honest. I think I kept myself. I mean, I didn't get as angry as I did with Scooby Doo, but I came close.
Yeah, I mean, for you, it's a different experience because you saw the transition. I was just jaded, and I don't think I've really watched much of those other than like TLC, ironically, just because I love Say Yes to the Dress because I'm like such a girly girl. But it's really depressing, growing up as a 90s 2000 kid. And, so much of the content you just consumed through the different channels was like through like the Discovery networks. I mean, like the Travel Channel, they used to have like all those Disney Imagineering documentaries of like how the ride works, like all the mechanics of everything. Of course, Animal Planet, like even though they had like some fluff programming, like the planet's funniest animals, you had like animal facts and everything, and that's like the whole thing. You don't learn like any facts about the animals. Like they don't even compare it to like real animals. Like you don't learn about like the hunting patterns. It's just a bunch of crackpot theories. And it's just really depressing to kind of come back to your point that this really is the patient zero.
It's like ratings talk, money talks. They see that something like this or the Megalodon documentary brings in the ratings numbers that they do. What else are they going to do but start making more of them? Especially in a time where this was about 6 years after Steve Irwin had passed. So Animal Planet sees its highest ratings on this since his memorial. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to pivot. They're going to see this as a money-making machine. It's like I can barely even think of any place other than like the BBC nature documentaries to really get this kind of good educational content. Yeah, Animal Planet I think has rebounded a bit with stuff like the Irwin's current show or like something like River Monsters, even though that kind of ended like years ago. But you look across the networks and it's so much harder to find stuff that's actual good educational content that's actually trying to teach you something.
Like, ironically, Apple, of all places, has some, like, good legit stuff. Like, stuff like Prehistoric Planet, but also, like, other nature jokes. Fuck, even Disney Plus has, like, a better selection of, like, nature documentaries and stuff like that. But I did want to kind of, before we exit out, I did want to read one thing from David Zaslav's Wikipedia article. And to me, this is, like, the damning point. And I think this is the thing that actually makes my blood boil. Zaslav became CEO of Discovery Communications in November 16, 2006. So I think it should be on. So just ignore the grammatical error. And he replaced Judith McHale. Zaslav instigated a shift in strategy by the company, aiming to see itself as a content company rather than a cable company by bolstering its main networks, such as its namesake Discovery Channel, as multi-platform brands. I think that says it all.
I mean, content. That's the word of the millennium, I feel, is that so much of not just education, but entertainment as a whole has just been boiled down to content. We need to keep putting more and more content out. It's like, it doesn't matter if it has anything of value. As long as it keeps people distracted for about an hour or two, then who gives a shit?
Yep.
And like, this has to have been like the starting point for why those Discovery networks have gone the way they have. It's like Animal Planet, I feel like, has fared in the years since probably the best out of all of them, in that they still do put some educational stuff out, but then you all still see some fluffy bullshit. Discovery Channel, I don't recognize anymore. Like, the only time I even hear about Discovery Channel is when Shark Week rolls around. And that has become the epitome of sensationalized, unfactual bullshit. History Channel, it's the Ancient Aliens Channel. That's all it is now. Travel Channel, it's the Ghost Channel. Destination America, it's the Finding Bigfoot Channel. It is so sad that in this age where information has become so diluted to the point where nobody can even tell what's real anymore, to have that kind of a resource where you could actually learn and just become more educated on the history of the world and all these other things, to lose that to this same kind of like nonsense, useless sensationalism it sucks. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah.
It sucks. But yeah, I think I'm done wasting brain cells on this mermaid infused garbage.
Amen. I think we need to Viking funeral this and send this one out to sea. All right. Since we've now burned that ship, Gio, where can everyone find you?
All right. So, if you want to find me whining about the state of the entertainment industry, you could find me at evking13.bsky.social. Because fuck Twitter, that's why.
Fuck Twitter every day, baby. And if you want to hear my ramblings on the limited time I am on social media, because I write and I realize, wow, this shit is addicting and bad for you. Mind you, I'm still drinking alcohol, but hey, it's the baby steps that count. But if you want to see me on my journey, you can follow me at crazylemur.bsky.social. I am also on Instagram at LemursRoll1, where I will post fun pictures of my life, my dog, and occasionally cooking. So if you want like a more wholesome version of me, go follow me there. All right. So I do try to end these episodes on a more positive note, but as we alluded to a couple weeks ago, I feel like we should say something. We lost Rob and Michelle Reiner a couple of weeks ago. We didn't want to rush into making a tribute in regards to Rob Reiner's career like so soon after it happened because, we wanted to let the investigators kind of put together the facts. We didn't want to seem sensationalist and taking advantage. But I think in the spirit of filmmaking, I feel like this is something that Rob Reiner would appreciate. I mean, hell, he even joked about this film himself. And our goal here is to just, celebrate all films. And, one part of a filmmaker, both great filmmakers and not so great filmmakers, is that sometimes not every idea works out. So next time we're going to be covering North. But just to kind of make this a little bit happier, do you want to talk about hands, Gio?
They
have eyes. Kermit flew. All right. So until next time, again, Happy New Year and see ya.
Of course, the root of all evil.
Sandstone caves
Ancient Egypt.
Memphis.
30,000 years ago.
The inspiration for the Bass Pro Shop Pyramid.
The water has receded.